Hi, I'm doing a lecture for Technology for Education. While I, for one, have not been very fond of the great world of technology and feel that it is taking over our entire lifestyle, I feel it is too much for our lives and our world. However, now that I am in this graduate school program, it is an entire online program, and it is all our world is based on completely technology-based education. Therefore, I have no other choice other than to become completely adapted to it. My lecture here today is based upon technology for education. There are such a wide range of educational technologies, and it depends on their affordances and limitations in relation to your learning goals. Making decisions about educational technologies can be tricky. Faculty sometimes ask if a specific technology will enhance student learning. Whether low technology, either a chalkboard or high technology, a 3D interactive visualization, a tool's learning benefit depends on when, where, how, or why you use it. We can help you find a tool or set of tools that aligns with your goals and provide you support as you select and integrate solutions effective in your teaching. For instance, flipping the class for active learning. In a flipped classroom, students' initial exposure to content is shifted outside the classroom via readings, instructional videos, individual or collaborative activities, or a combination of these. Then during class, rather than lecturing, such as I'm doing here, all or a significant portion of the time is used for practice, application exercises, discussion-based activities, team-based learning, or other active learning techniques. Some preliminary assessment, such as online quiz or brief assignment, may be used to gauge student understanding and tailor instructional plans prior to class. What are potential benefits? Well, potential benefits for students. They tend to be more engaged during class, thanks to interactive activities requiring critical thinking. Tackle more challenging applications, tasks during class, when the faculty member is present to answer questions and provide guidance, rather than when they are studying at home. With less prior knowledge and experience, can level the playing field by completing pre-class work at their own pace, repeating or extending their initial learning as needed. Receive instruction focused on what is most challenging. Advanced students are not bored by lectures on basic concepts. They ideally get frequent, low-stakes practice and feedback during in-class activities. Capacious research shows this can improve learning. Can achieve better learning outcomes when learning actively compared to passively listening to lectures, supported by research across disciplines and class size. How can this potentially benefit faculty? Well, they can spend less time focusing on challenging issues and sharing their unique perspective rather than feeling the need to cover all the basics. They can obtain timely information by preliminary assessments about students' learning before class and thereby adapt teaching plans. They can receive and respond to real-time feedback on student learning during interactive classroom activities. They may find it more engaging and enjoyable to spend class time interacting with students rather than giving a lecture. Remember that all teaching strategies, for example, a flipped classroom versus a traditional lecture, may have pros and cons depending on the context of how they are used. One is not necessarily inherently superior to another. Effectiveness for learning ultimately depends on how strategies are implemented. Now, what advice do early adopters offer to faculty colleagues? Well, don't flip your classroom without having a good reason to do it. Implementation of teaching strategies is most effective when motivated by and closely aligned with your learning objectives. For example, not just because it's possible or trendy to make instructional videos on one's laptop. Leave ample time to prepare. Implementing a flipped classroom can represent a significant initiative time investment, especially if pre-existing appropriate instructional materials are not available for some topics. Leave ample time for designing instructional materials, class sessions, and pre-class work. Start small. Consider strategically flipping a few amenable topics that routinely challenge students rather than an entire course. Use instructional technology strategically. There are many ways to effectively enact a flipped classroom. Many do not require technology. For example, a traditional course reading may be sufficient foundation for pre-class work. One need not create an instructional video. However, in many cases, instructional technology may indeed help facilitate learning, students' interactions, assessment of learning, or instructor efficiency. Clearly guide student preparation. Pre-class work is most efficient when students are given a clear articulated goal or target level of performance to achieve before class and the students to support them. Hold students accountable. Students are more likely to be prepared for class and participate actively if held accountable for the pre-class work. Course materials may also need to change. One's choice of active learning strategies may require the nature of preparatory materials to change significantly. In some cases, engagement with primary sources may increase. For example, history students analyzing and discussing historical documents and artifacts. However, in other disciplines, case-based learning may require that pre-class readings shift from exhaustive clinical reference materials to secondary distillations of key concepts. For example, pharmacology students preparing to debate merits of different care plans in response to case studies. Beware of student overload. How much time students will need to be prepared for class activities? Is the amount of pre-class work appropriate for the number of units per credits of the course? Is it easy to add additional prep work, but you may need to make hard choices about what needs to be subtracted from your syllabus, the readings, the assignments, etc., so that pre-class workload is feasible for the students. Be transparent. Students are often initially resistant to active learning, especially if they are habituated to lecture-based courses. Clearly explain why you are teaching in this way, how you would think it will improve your students' learning, and your expectation for students. You need not use the term flipping the classroom in your explanation. Some faculty experience a negative reaction to this term. You may need to revisit this multiple times or periodically highlight how particularly learning experiences are designed to improve learning beyond what's possible in a lecture format. Stick to your guns. If you are replacing lecture or portions thereof with active learning and students do not come prepared to class, do not revert to lecturing. Otherwise, students will not come prepared for future classes. Lecturing briefly to clarify confusion or explain challenging concepts is fine, but avoid recovering the basics. Classroom infrastructure can make active learning challenging. Furniture, for example, long tables with chairs bolted to the floor or auditorium seating, can make active learning and small group work difficult by inhibiting students' ability to interact or instructors' access to students, especially in rooms designed for large lectures. Plan activities knowing the constraints of your teaching environment. Students working in pairs can be effective in large classes. Now you're asking, how do I get started? Identify when, where flipping could enhance learning in your course. Remember, you need not and probably should not flip your entire course on the first attempt. Choosing a topic or two that will benefit from this strategy is a good place to start. Articulate learning objectives for the portion of the course you plan to flip. Learning objectives are student-centered and measurable statements of what students should be able to do by the end of a learning experience. With clear learning objectives in mind, you can focus on students' learning by designing in-class